Okay, here we go. Welcome. Hello, welcome everyone. Hi, so good to see all of you. Here we are for the Books That Save Lives Heart Wisdom panel. And it's so great to be back with all of you. Thanks for being here today. I'm Sherry Richert Belul and author of Say It Now. And today we have Nita Sweeney and Kim Colegrove, who are going to be talking about staying centered in turbulent times. And wow, what the perfect topic for where we are in this moment. And I'm so excited to launch into our conversation and to get some tips and practices from these two, as well as Brenda, who is also here. Hi, Brenda. But first, before I even have them introduce themselves, Kim has so generously offered to start us with just a short closed eye breath work.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea always before you jump into a conversation like this to just get present because we've all probably been working and going and doing things and focused all day. So you can close your eyes or not close your eyes, but I thought maybe we could just take two or three nice breaths together and with the intention that we're going to bring ourselves fully here. I think it's Nita that says drag your mind to where your body is. Isn't that one of your things, Nita? So let's do that together. You can either just look down, find something to gently stare at, or close your eyes down. And let's just take some deep breaths. Maybe just breathing a little deeper than we've been breathing all day. Gently directing our mind to where we are, right here, right now. Maybe a little body awareness. We spend so much of our day up in our heads. All right. I'm all checked in. How about you guys? Fully here.
That was amazing. I don't know about anyone else, but for me, even just whatever, however long that few minutes was, that was so wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's great for our systems. So, welcome again, everyone. And typically at this point, I would have our authors introduce themselves first, but I think, Brenda, if it's okay with you, since Books That Save Lives is still fairly new to the world, I thought maybe we would have you start us off and just say a few words, and if Duncan wanted to say a few words, just about this wonderful new endeavor.
Yes, well, I'm very proud to be the co-founder, co-owner, and publisher at Books That Save Lives, which actually had its origins at Heart Wisdom, at the Heart Wisdom holiday party when Kim shared like her deeply moving, fact that like people were coming to her events and letting her know that they were still here because of Mindfulness for Warriors and her other books. And so I was moved beyond anything. I mean, I still remember it very clearly. And it planted a seed in my mind. And that was like a little acorn that has grown to like a nice sapling, I think. And we're hoping it will become a mighty oak one day that offers people shelter and all kinds of enrichment. And like I it sort of happened by accident, but I think that now I realize I honestly feel like it was fated. This was what was supposed to happen. I remember Sherry having a conversation with you like around a year ago about your forthcoming book, Love List of a Lifetime. And then I said, oh, we're going to put it on, let's make it a Books That Save Lives imprint. And then somehow you and I got on the conversation of like that your backlist book needed to be Books That Save Lives because somehow you and I knew that like it might be possible that I was no longer with Mango and that I needed to take Books That Save Lives with me. And at that time, that was not the plan, not the plan at all. But like I think we had this inner knowing, and that like that was also like a seed planted like for the fact that now we haven't, Duncan is my, is my partner, full business partner, and quite a book person himself, and definitely, an important part of this endeavor. So it's interesting to me to sometimes just look back and see what was happening before that led to this, and many of you were very much a part of it. And so, Duncan, I will hand over to you.
Oh, I wonder, I bet he needs to be.
I got unmuted. Thank you.
Thank you, Macklin.
Uh, well, I have no speech prepared. I was just, I've been a little uncentered in frantic times and was looking forward to the benefits of this workshop, very selfishly and greedily hoping that I could get some centeredness. But I'll share what I can about the whole process of working with Brenda. Has been wonderful. I've been learning a lot more about her side of the business. I've been very much on the sort of finance and operations side, and so I'm learning a lot more about marketing and sales, which is something I've always wanted to know more about. And I think we really complement each other in that regard. And it's been really exciting to work with each of the authors here as I've been able to. I think Eric and I might have had an exchange this morning, if I remember right. So it's been a real uplifting experience to get to know all of you. And with that, I'll hand it back to Sherry.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you both. It's good to hear from you both. And also just wanted to give a wave to Macklin. Macklin, hi. You should be able to. Will it let you unmute and say just
Hi
a hello?
everyone. Hi, my name is Macklin. I work with Brenda and Duncan. I'm a editorial manager, but I also do some design work, and I've been in contact with pretty much everybody here, besides for a few. Um, and yeah, I'm so excited to be working with all of y'all. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'll be hanging around. So
Thank you. Thank you, Macklin, for everything that you do for the Heart Wisdom too. So wonderful. Let's go. Nita, hello. We haven't had a chance to say hi to you just yet, but if you wouldn't mind just giving us a general introduction, and as a little added part of that, if you would, little secret question, I would love to know how you stay sane amongst all the news. Like that's one of my questions right now. I think for a lot of people, it's a big question of, how do we stay informed and stay centered? So if you had an answer to that along with your introduction, that would be great.
Yeah, put me on the spot. No problem, Sherry. Welcome to Heart Wisdom, folks. I love it. Yeah, so I'm Nita Sweeney, and I'm the author of 4 books, 3 books with Books That Save Lives, and I'm so excited about this endeavor. It just feels fated. I know what. Yeah. Anyway, I could go on about that forever. I'm coming to you from Central Ohio. I don't always stay centered. And I think one of the things I wanted to say, I was going to say this later, but I'll say it now, is that I think the expectation that we can stay centered can get us in some trouble. So the tools that, from what I understand, we'll see what Kim says, the tools that Kim's going to offer us, and the tool that I'm going to suggest, is about noticing when we are not centered and having the presence of mind and the tools to bring ourselves back. Because the fight to stay centered can cause great suffering. So practically speaking, I use several different apps to block social media on my phone. I don't actually watch the news at all, period. Everything I need to know comes to me from other people or through the Times. I do very curated observing of social media. And so I'm very, very careful because I do want to stay informed and I do want to take action. when, when it's necessary or when I want to. But I can't, the news is just, it's just not helpful to me. And there are lots of other ways to find out what's actually going on. And so that's more the practical end of it. But even with all of that, I still get what Kim will probably mention as dysregulated, which I call it discombobulated. Is actually what I call it. Is I get discombobulated, and then I have to take some time and bring myself back. And so that's kind of how I feel about what we're talking about today. And boy, has there never, in my lifetime, there's never been a better time to have these tools. So I'm really excited to hear what Kim has to say too. So, and thanks, Sherry, for putting it together. Thanks, Brenda, for everything, for all the years. Great to see you again, Duncan. I look forward to working with you and Macklin. Fantastic.
Oh, Nita, thank you. And I don't know if you use this exact word, but what I heard in between the lines was you're very intentional about what you let in to your space, right? And
Yes.
I also really appreciate what you said about, letting us, right? Like it's probably not possible to stay centered all the time. However, we can be aware and pull ourselves back, come back to center and use the tools that I know we're going to be learning a lot today. So thank you for that. Ms. Kim, welcome back to you as well. Good to see you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Same question, same question. If you would do an introduction and also let us know, how do you stay informed and also stay sane?
Oh, well, I'm kind of like Nita. I turned on the news on the morning. I was traveling for work. I was in a hotel room the morning of November 6th. I turned on the news for about 20 minutes and I turned it off, and I haven't not watched 1 minute of news on television since then. And so I seek out what I want. I do stay informed, but I've kind of stopped marinating in it. I don't want to be overly informed because it's disrupts your nervous system to say the least. Yeah, so and honestly to goodness, the tools that I use are the tools that I share with people. I practice what I preach. I'm not perfect all the time by any stretch of the imagination. I get dysregulated, and we all do. I mean, but everything that I recommend to people and that I teach and talk about they're the exact tools that I use. Um, I think the key, are you ready for me to jump in?
I could tell. I was just about to ask you. Yeah, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I think the key for most of us is awareness and being aware of when we are starting to get overwhelmed or stressed out or flooded or dysregulated, when we can't think clearly, when our own personal stress responses start to kick in. Unfortunately, I think for a lot of people, because we need to, for all different reasons, but we develop a habit of pushing through, kind of ignoring those signs and symptoms because you're at work or you got to get this done or you're in public or you're whatever it is. You just kind of have to push through. And sometimes we do. But I think that's become too much of a default for people, to the point where people are dysregulated and stressed out and overwhelmed, but unaware of it. And the people around them might be unaware of it. And never have we lived in a time where we could witness so many emotionally dysregulated adults just all day, every day. So I think step one is to just a little more awareness, be a little more checked in with our mental and emotional well-being, and to do our best to work with it when it's on the incline instead of waiting until we are completely flooded or overwhelmed. And that takes practice, all right? And it takes awareness. So I've been talking a lot lately to people about self-regulation, emotional regulation. I have an adult daughter who is just 2 years out of college, and she works in a residential psychiatric facility for children. And she's on the family support team. And so she works with children with a lot of mental and emotional and behavioral issues. And she also works with the families. And so She's not unlike the first responders and nurses that I've worked with over the years because she is inundated with secondary trauma, being exposed to and impacted by the trauma of others. So I've been talking to her a lot about this and sharing these skills with her coworkers. So she actually did a little presentation for her team, her coworkers last week on self-regulation. I helped her put together a document and she taught them all a breathing exercise. So this has been front and center, this topic lately. So with the people that I can see here on my screen, I feel like I'm talking to a group full of masterclass people. So I don't really know that I have anything I can teach this particular group. But for anyone who might watch this later, or, for anyone who is struggling right now, and maybe you know this stuff, maybe you've been meditating for 30 or 40 years and it's a go-to, but man, it's getting more and more difficult to find the regulation and to keep from getting worried and fearful and anxious and stressed out. So I just feel like it's important to focus on self-regulation and understanding that it doesn't just feel better, and it's not just feel good, hippy dippy, touchy feely, hold hands and sing kumbaya. There's a physiological improvement that happens in our bodies when we use these simple tools and practices that are evidence-based, like breathing exercises and mindful practices and meditation. They're evidence-based practices that even just a breathing exercise for 1 or 2 minutes, because you slow down your breathing, that starts to slow down your heart rate. That in turn can start to lower your blood pressure. So there's a quantifiable, measurable physiological improvement when you pause and use one of these practices. So, meaning that if we had a nurse standing by and we measured your heart rate pre and post a breathing exercise or a mindfulness practice, and maybe checked your blood pressure, we probably would notice an improvement. And I think that's the key when there's that point of choice. Am I going to force myself to pause and breathe for a couple of minutes, get checked in with my body, see if I can get checked into the here and now? Or am I just going to push through? Cowboy up, power on, you know?
Kim, I'm going to interrupt you just quickly, for a moment,
Yeah.
because I know you have the word pause in the name of your work, right? Would pause.
Yes. Yes, I do.
And I just wanted to underscore that because what you're saying is so important. And I am curious before you move on, because you have so many great things to share. It seems to me that even that pause, even that, like having enough awareness to say pause in our heads, that must do something to break a pattern, right? Before we even do any other tools.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I think hustle culture is dying, and good riddance to it, you know, because you can get stuff done without all that hypey, hustle culture stuff. And I think the future is in people embracing these simple practices that many of us here have. I mean, honestly, you guys, I'm going to be 59 years old next month, and I've been meditating for 49 years. It's crazy. But my parents had me trained in transcendental meditation when I was 10 because they were meditators. So a lot of us have used a lot of these skills and tools for a very long time. And a lot of other people have thought they were hippy dippy, weirdo, new agey, right? But I think that's going to change now. And something as simple as just training yourself to pause and take one breath. There's a physiological shift that can happen when you do that. And I love, so Nita and I are kind of tag teaming today. I usually start people with breathing exercises because that's just the simplest, most accessible tool. I always say the breath is the body's natural stress reliever. We have this built-in mechanism that if we'll just use it on purpose, can help us regulate the nervous system, engage the parasympathetic nervous system, dial back the stress response. And so I usually start people there. But there are people, and I work with highly traumatized, trauma exposed professionals. So I've encountered a lot of people that have so much anxiety or they're battling with mental health issues, and the breathing stresses them out, or can cause a panic attack, forced breathing, forcing them to breathe in a particular way. So for people who struggle with that, it's good for them to learn about body awareness and other ways to get themselves out of that monkey mind chatter and the mental disconnection or the mental busyness. So there's not just any one way to do it. So I teach breathing, mindful practices, and meditation. And my whole point today is really just recommending that everybody get really focused on self-regulation, figure out a way to get it on your radar, because it's great to use these practices acutely when you're really stressed out and overwhelmed, but you have to sign on to that Zoom meeting, or you have to be present with what you're doing, but you're so overwhelmed or flooded or stressed out that you're having your stress responses, whatever that is. You're clenching your jaws, or your heart is pounding in your chest, or maybe you're starting to get a headache. But you just cannot give in to any of that right now. Using a breathing exercise acutely can slow all that down, but using breathing exercises or mindful practices or regular meditation consciously on a regular basis sets us up for success rather than just using it acutely. Once you practice these things and develop a habit, then when it hits the fan, you're a little better prepared. It becomes like second nature because you've practiced over and over, bringing your awareness into the present moment, body awareness, connecting with the breath, things like that. So I guess I would just say there's a whole bunch of people out there that will never do any of this, but how about the rest of us focus on self-regulation for self-preservation, in these times, and just learn these simple skills and practice them regularly.
And Kim, what I love so much, there's so much great stuff in what you're saying. And I'm thinking, it's self-regulation, but it's such a societal relief, right? Like, especially, I agree with you that it's like great to do in acute circumstances, but for anyone who knows anyone who meditates regularly, and again, I think we're preaching to a lot of the choir here, but it's like we know that sort of calm presence that enters a room, right? That because of all of those years of practice, and not always, like back to what Nita was saying, it's not like we're always centered, but that kind of becomes the baseline in a lot of ways, despite everything going on. So I love what you're saying, and I agree with you. And I'm curious because I know you mentioned that Nita was going to go to this. Is this a good time for us to talk about that alternative kind of meditation?
Yeah, I think so. Nita's going to walk us through an exercise today.
Shall we start?
That's not breath focused. I mean, I
Right.
think it's good for it to be exposed to all different things. Try a breath focus exercise, try a body focus exercise. We're all different. We all have different learning styles. See what works for you. And the same thing might not work every day. So yeah.
All right, I'll take it over from here for a little bit, and then we'll probably go back to Kim because she's got all the statistics. The book that was featured on the graphic of mine is called Make Every Move a Meditation. And the theory behind that book is that most people, when they're taught to meditate, are taught sitting meditation. They usually start with the breath, as Kim said, most teachers do. And the way I heard it was it's because everybody breathes. And so it's a common denominator. And in addition to being a very effective relaxation tool, and it's medicine, your breath, if you focus on it right. But like Kim said, I tend to deal with people who have mental health issues, and the anxiety that comes in seconds when you suggest that they focus on the breath made me kind of rethink the traditional way of starting people, which is to work with the breath. And so what we use is usually the hands or the feet. And I'm actually gonna, before I lead the little, very short little exercise, I was gonna talk about, kind of dovetail what Kim said about there's the acute thing where you go, oh my God, I've got this crisis situation. I have to meditate now to try to get myself centered for this. But there's also the regular practice. And it's hard, especially when people are so busy, to add one more thing. So my suggestion, and there's a bunch of exercises in the book, Make Every Move Meditation. One of those exercises is to add it to something you're already doing, something such as driving a car. And so while you're driving the car, fully present, making sure you're watching the road, every few seconds, you notice your hands on the steering wheel. What does that feel like? That's all, just for a couple of seconds. Because the idea is, it's the phrase that I've heard and I stole probably is keep your head where your feet are. And so it's my body is here in this vehicle driving it, but my mind is someplace else. So for a couple of seconds, can I bring my mind into the same space as my body? And so you can do that with, let's say, as you're sitting here right now, I believe everybody, I'm not looking at the whole gallery, but everybody's probably sitting in a chair. So you can feel your butt on the chair. Just for a second, just notice that, oh yeah, my behind is on this chair. That's it. That's actually meditation. And if you can remember to do it by tying it to something you're already doing, brushing your teeth, just notice 2 or 3 strokes with the brush, things like that. It's both grounding, it's focusing. It has, like Kim said, there's just so much research of the benefits of doing these, whether it's breath or body practices. And it doesn't have to be very long at all. They've done all kinds of studies on real short intervals of regular practice. The regular is the part that is key. And then the other thing I wanted to say about sort of the state of where we are is that a lot of people are feeling the urge to take action. When you are centered and focused, you are much more efficient in making decisions and in the actions you take. And so, like Kim said, when I first heard about meditation many, many years ago, I thought, oh my God, hippy dippy woo woo, exactly what she said. But now I see it as a power skill. I mean, it really is being able to be completely frazzled and then go, wait a minute, I can be in my body present, making calm centered decisions, even while I'm taking action. And I'll say one more thing about that. A lot of the examples in the book, Make Every Move a Meditation, are from me running sort of insanely long distances, because that's a thing I like to do. And what they have found with elite runners, they look like they are, if you watch a really elite runner, they look like they are completely relaxed. And they're intensely working. They're not, but they're only expending exactly the amount of energy they need to do whatever activity they're doing. And that, to me, that's sort of like the goal. Okay, let's try to get focused enough, centered enough, practiced enough, so that whatever I choose to do and making good decisions, whatever I choose to do, I'm only using the energy I need for that activity. So I wanted to throw that all in, much more than I thought I was going to say. All right. So
before you jump into the exercise,
okay.
yeah, first of all, thank you. I'm so glad that you gave us more than you had expected. That I found that so helpful. Everything you were saying about decision making, only expending the amount of energy that is necessary, that feels huge. Like that could change our entire lives,
Well,
right?
it could change the planet because we add this story. I mean, it's actually, I study Buddhism, which is where the meditation practice I do come from, and they talk about the 5 conditions. And the 5th condition is the story we add to what's actually happening. And so I talk about accepting reality. And it's not that I'm happy with reality, but I know what's going on and I don't want to try to add. I mean, I had plenty of drama, but then I go, oh, wait, that's a story. Let's back off.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much. Would this be a good time to walk us through?
Yeah, this is gonna be really simple. So you can either close your eyes if you'd like to, shift around so you're comfy. If you don't feel comfortable closing your eyes, you can leave them open, but cast them down so that they're, looking at your desk or whatever you're sitting in front of, just so that you're not staring into the screen, because we want you to try to let your body relax a little bit. And if you can keep your spine a little bit straight, that helps with focus. That helps with concentration, to have the spine straight, because when you close your eyes or when you put your focus down, the mind goes, oh, nap time, oh, nap time. And so if we keep the spine straight, that helps keep us relaxed but awake, because that's the balance you want in meditation, is relaxation with alertness. So just sit like that for a second or two. And then bring your attention to your hands. They might be folded in your lap or sitting on your legs. Mine are on a keyboard tray because that's what's comfortable. Just give some attention to these hands that we use all day long. Not so much to think about them, but to actually feel them. Are they warm or cold? Are they soft or rough? Do they feel pleasant or unpleasant, or perhaps neutral? Are they curled? Are they flat? What do these hands feel like? These hands we use all day. And notice the place where they might be touching something. So for me, there's a cushion on the keyboard tray so the softness of my skin is touching the softness of the keyboard cushion. It might be your clothes or your legs, your lap, and your belly. Just notice that point of contact for a second. And be aware of any judgments that might arise of your hands, of me, of the world, and also any kind thoughts that arise. Just notice those, and you can let those go and very gently bring your attention back to what those hands really feel like. You might feel a sense of appreciation for them. If you're like me, you might have a thumb that is misbehaving, and that thought might arise. And again, you can just notice that, let it be, and let it go on its way. You don't have to force it. And that's pretty much it. Just notice if you feel any different after we do this once I end? I don't have my little bell, so I'll just make a little bell sound. Ding. But that's the kind of really simple, just 2 or 3 minutes. Just tuck that kind of thing in your day. And with meditation, Kim probably talked about this too. It's so flexible. It's so you can use everything, anything in your experience, anything in your thoughts or body sensations. You can get very creative with it. But the key is to bring your mind where your body is and be accepting of that, even if you don't like it, which that for our society, we don't get that sometimes, that we can accept something and be open to it, even if we don't like it. And that's when we really can make change, is when we're aware of what's really happening. Thank you. Thanks for the time. And thanks for listening, everyone.
Rita, that was so marvelous. And what I love about what both of you brought is that exactly that it's more about the consistency and the practice than, I need to meditate for 30 minutes or an hour a day, which I think is out there somewhere. I don't know where that came from. But I love that you two are helping us to see, or like you were saying, or like we did just now, like anywhere we are, right? And even before we did this sort of official practice, when you had sort of mentioned it before, I was practicing focusing on my hands and I could feel it. Right? I could feel myself come into my body and just like relax. So I'm curious if anybody else wants to jump in. I can unmute you if anybody wanted to share what that experience was like. Rachel, I saw you. It should let you unmute, will it? Oh, there you are.
Well, I just want to thank both of you. You both know I have utter respect for both of you and the work you both do. Um, I I love that kind of practice where it's focusing on body parts. For me, who gets very distracted very easily, that really helps me stay in it. It's one of the reasons why I had started making it a regular practice to do it while I wash my hands. So I knew Sherry would love that I brought this up.
Hoping you would.
So it's in my book, and it came out right before the pandemic. But during the pandemic, I actually really made it a regular practice, and now it's embedded because I did it all the time. Where when I'm washing my hand, I'm completely mindful, and I take that time every day. Every time I wash my hands, I've made it so that it's that set practice, so I don't have to do that acute. I just go to it and it's there. But I pay attention to everything from pumping the soap to the way it smells to the way the bubbles move on my hands but because it's that physical, and then I keep my breath steady and going. And so I just have married the two with it. But that was the first thing that I found out that I can actually keep to and do regularly. Because, like you guys were saying, it's really hard to add stuff to your day. So why not do it with the things that I'm already doing? So in the shower, in the bathroom, wherever I already am at the sink, it just helps me stay knowing that I can get there quickly. And because I do it regularly, and that definitely helps, because I have a hard time remembering to go to the other tools, remembering to do tapping, remembering to sit down and stay somewhere for this long a time. But that one I can stay consistent with, and I know it really helps. So thank you both for bringing up these things, because I love you both so much, and and I'm so happy to see you here.
We
Well,
love you
Rachel,
too, Rachel.
Yeah, it's great to see you too, Rachel. I did that right.
and I am so glad. I was hoping you would bring that up because hopefully hand washing is something everybody does, if we're lucky enough to have water and soap, right? Those of us fortunate enough to have those things. And so I love that because it's like that habit stacking, right? That seems to work so well, and what Nita was pointing to. So I'm so glad you brought that in. Anybody else want to share what your experience was or other thoughts? Brenda, hello.
Yes. I was hoping, Kim, that you could tell people the story of that. I think it was in Iraq, of that was so shut down that he didn't see color.
Ah, yeah. I have a video of him talking about this.
Mm.
So he was a Marine. He joined when he was 17. Um, left home when he was 18, and he was one of the first people into Afghanistan. And so he really has some stories. He's in my first book and some of his stories. And I think he didn't shower for some 300 days or something insane when he was over there. But um, he came back with so much trauma, but no conscious awareness of what that meant, or like even the definition of the term, and then got into law enforcement. He's still a police officer, but he, I think, was kind of voluntold by his wife to go to a 5-day treatment program for veterans and first responders. And when he was there, he really leaned into the week. Well, when he first got there, on day one, I worked for that organization for 5 years, and on day one, they would get meditation first thing on day one in the morning, and he was like, "F this hippie BS." I mean, he wanted to leave, but he leaned into the week, and then at the end of the week, they do a really important ceremony out in nature, and he committed himself to it and did this, this ceremony after all the learning and everything he had done all week. And his story is about helping pick up and clean up everything, to load up the cars, to leave this area of nature. And he said as he was walking out of the wooded area, he looked up and he felt breeze on his skin. And he saw colors that he felt like he had never seen before. And he was just like a little kid looking around, and he could see the leaves on the trees just crisp and clear in colors. And he said it scared him. And in the video, he says, "I don't know why it scared me." So he went and talked to the therapist that goes through the week with them about that. And he said, "That freaked me out. Like, what is going on?" And the therapist said, "You have been so traumatized that your body shut down so many of your senses. It's a defense protection mechanism that happens. And so when you shut down good emotions, bad emotions, like you shut down everything." And he went to, I'm not a therapist, clearly I can't explain this the way he did, but he said, "You're healing and you're coming out of that." And so all of everything that was closed and shut down is starting to open for you. It's not anything to be afraid of. You're doing the work, you're healing. It's really beautiful. And he lived and survived, and he's doing great. And not for anything, but part of it's because he meditates regularly. So that really is that was really after his first day of literally wanting to leave the program because they were starting with meditation. Yeah, yeah, it's beautiful. It's really beautiful.
I'm curious, how did you or whoever else was the person get him from that, no way am I doing this hippie thing, to the willingness? Because I think that is a pretty common thing.
Yeah, he just he didn't have a choice. I think that
Oh,
he'll say now that if he wouldn't have gone through that program and leaned in, he wouldn't be married anymore. It changed everything. It saved his marriage. It changed the kind of dad he is. He's got a lot of great stories about, pre-treatment. And then after that, he did just a lot of regular therapy, and he just embraced all the tools, you know. So yeah, Rachel, thanks for the wash your hands thing, because I teach people a lot that struggle, to add something to their day, or one more thing to their to-do list. So I just talk about habit triggers and finding something. So that's hand washing as a habit trigger. When I do this, I will also do, and just to at least get them to body awareness for a minute, or 3 deep breaths, or anything. It's the simplest thing can really create a reset for our nervous system.
yeah.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any comments, questions for our authors? Anything you want to bring into the conversation? We welcome it. Clayton, you should be able to unmute. Will it let you?
Did
There
that-
you are.
Okay. Hi, Nita. Nice to see you.
Clayton,
This is very basic, very, very basic. Is there an accepted definition among the authors as to what centeredness actually is?
well, I'll say that it's when my mind is not racing and my head is in my body. But that's comes from the Buddhist tradition. So it's being in the present moment. I mean, that's how I think of it. But psychologically, the term that I didn't actually know till a few years ago, despite decades of therapy, is dysregulation. And so when and Kim will be able to talk to this because she's much more trained in this, but when our nervous system is kind of offline, where it's not well, I'll let Kim talk more about it, but there's like a parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, and one of them controls the fight and flight, and the other one controls sort of the peace of things. And so for me, it's when I'm in the moment and I'm in the parasympathetic. Is that right, Kim? Is it the peace one
Yeah.
is the one I want? Yeah. Okay. The
Yeah, when you're in
parasympathetic.
stress response, that's your
Right. Okay.
sympathetic nervous system that turns on
Right.
your stress response.
Right.
That's
So I
right.
want to be, it's
Right.
those two things. It's both in the moment and for me, I'm not sure that they can exist without each other. I'm not sure I can be in the parasympathetic nervous system without being in the moment, but I'm not sure about that. So maybe Kim can talk about that. That's what it is for me. It's that centeredness. And then that's when we see the colors and the lights come on and we can think more clearly and we feel calm and centered even in the midst of chaos sometimes. So that's what it is for me. But I'll let Kim will expand. And I thought I'd just hop in with a quick one. Thanks for the question, Clayton. It's good to see you.
Clayton, I think I don't think there's any like one definition. It's very individual. We're all so different, and what might feel centered to me there might be a nuance or a little bit something a little bit different for Nita. Do you have a thought about that, or a definition, or a sense, or a feeling of when you don't? So I
Not
mean,
particularly.
yeah, I think just for me, I can tell when I check in. I mean, sometimes I'm just like rolling with the tide before I realize how far down the rabbit hole I've gone of anxiety, overthinking, or whatever the things are. But for me, it's how I feel. It's how I feel like I can feel if I'm present and my heart isn't racing and my muscles don't feel tight and I'm checked in. You know, it feels good. It feels better. I feel more mental clarity. I feel better in my body. And so I think I think that's how I know. Like, oh, I feel a shift. I feel better. I feel um and when I'm not centered, I mean, I really lean towards overthinking, fast, quick mind, jumping from thing to thing, struggle to focus on one thing. That's kind of my natural tendency. So it's a little bit of heavy lifting sometimes for me to get present and feel centered. There are a lot of different disciplines and techniques. Nita comes more from Buddhism in that. My original training was transcendental meditation, so that was that foundation for me. But when I was about 30, I started studying every different practice and technique and reading books. And so it just kind of depends on who you talk to. If you're talking to someone who's really well versed in mindfulness meditation, they may have a slightly different definition for centered or grounded than someone who's like more of a Buddhist. But it's all the same thing. Like you're not all nutso crazy out of your head, mentally distracted. Most human beings spend the better part of their day focused in the past or focused in the future or focused on circumstances and people and things they can't control. That sense that
I do.
when you feel like that, yeah, and for human beings, nothing will stress us out more than trying to control the uncontrollable. So that's why I encourage self-regulation when you feel out of control, things feel out of control, you can't control that person or that external thing. We tend to be such externally focused beings. So when you can pause for even a second and just with that breath and acknowledge this is really all that I can manage. This is, you know, sometimes I don't like that word control. That feels a little, but I can only impact this. So why don't I just impact this? This is why I've been talking to my daughter about it, because she works with extremely dysregulated children sometimes, and they get violent, and she just has a lot of, they get very emotionally out of control and very violent. And so if they have an incident at work, and then the staff will overthink and beat up on themselves and shoulda, woulda, coulda, and I should have done that and I didn't do this, and they're very upset, and then they take it home and you're right, and they can't sleep and all that kind of a thing. So I just started saying to her, sometimes you have to pause and just realize what you can manage, which really is your breathing, doing your best to bring your mind to the here and now, and even just admitting to yourself, I can't control all of that. And continuing to try to control it is so stressful.
Sorry, Kim. I just
No,
was,
yeah.
JJ, 1 second, then I'd love for you. I'm gonna, one thing I was just gonna say is I love when you ask Clayton, what is it for you? Because when you did that, I saw like what a really helpful practice for all of us throughout the days. Like, is this center? Does this feel center? And then just to notice, like I know for me sometimes I don't even hear the birds, right? And then I'll suddenly hear the birds. And then that's like, oh, that feels like center to me when I'm, in nature or whatever. So I just love that. And I wanted to acknowledge that and just encourage anyone who wants to try that over the next rest of the day or days, like just to check in with yourselves and see what it is. Because I thought that was a beautiful question, Kim. JJ, hi.
Hi, I have a lot in common with a lot of you. I worked 45 years in mental health, and a lot of it with young kids, very young, 5, 6, 7 years old. And then my last position was with college age kids with psychiatric issues. It was in disability services. And I think all of the points that all of you are making are exactly right. Just after looking back on that much experience, it's all on, I always pictured a continuum. And then the word you comes in. It's so specific, yet we're on a continuum, and you can move very rapidly from calm and peaceful to completely out of control, with especially some of the kids that Kim's daughter's working with. And the strategies are so different depending on age, level of trauma, prior experience, willingness, like the fellow who had been in the military and was completely traumatized. And it's just so important to focus on that individual. And our criteria was get some healing to happen, but it would remind us, diagnose and heal. You identify and manage. You don't necessarily prescribe anything. I didn't, but so I think management is the complete key, and those tools are so available to anyone, anytime, anywhere. And they are teaching them in classrooms. One of the big shifts in classroom, and I've been retired a long time, I'm 78. And so I've been out of the classroom for a long time, but is that back when, in the wonderful old days, we could do a lot of touch, and touch is a master teacher. And it's what's missing from a lot of kids that come in with a shell and from adults, but good luck with touching adults now and almost trickling down to children. And that's a major loss with lawsuits and all kinds of awareness, some of it based on really bona fide things, but it has cut off that thing we can do with these. And in the olden days, one of the things for diagnosing was called the hand test. And it was about 10 pieces. I don't know, Kim or Nita, if you've ever seen them. And the hands would be in different positions, and the kids would say what they thought it meant. And that told you everything about what hands meant to them. And a big part of our program for healing was touch, positive touch, giving and taking. So yeah, you've had just a whole plethora of ideas, and they're much appreciated and most needed by the general public. And I don't have a TV. I haven't for years. Would never watch the news. Ignorance is semi-bliss. It's going to seep in anyway. You can't avoid it. But so, yeah, appreciate all your comments and
Thank you. Thanks, JJ. Appreciate that. Eric or Karen, yeah, I was just gonna say Eric or Karen, if you wanted to jump in. Karen, you should be able to unmute. Do you see a little unmute? Yeah, there you are.
Yeah, I'm so appreciative of being here and hearing what people have to say, because I have really been struggling a lot lately with just my mind spinning way too much. And not just because of the world around us, which I unplug from to the best of my ability, but because of some real health challenges that both my husband and I have been dealing with over the past couple years, really. And so I find at 86, I find myself thinking, how much longer do I have? And how much longer does he have? And so my mind goes way, 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 way out. And so I really I so appreciate what I'm hearing you all say, because it's bringing me back to the realization that I have let some practices go that I used to regularly do. I was a TM person too for many years. How and why I let that go, I don't know. And at this point in my life, the thing that centers me the most is to sit and write. And that's probably why I've ended up writing a number of books, because that's the way I find my sanity. But I don't want to have, I mean, it's not that I don't want to do that, and will continue doing that, but I want simpler practices. I loved the thought about just washing my hands and thinking about washing my hands. It reminded me of the book by Brother Lawrence that I read so many years ago, Practicing the Presence. And it was all about just being focused on, if you were doing the dishes, you were not doing anything else. If you were frying an egg, you were not doing anything else. And I just need to get back to the simplicity of that kind of living. So being here today and hearing suggestions from both of you in particular, but from every comment that has been made, feels life-saving to me right now. So I just want to thank you.
Oh, Karen, that was beautiful. Thank you so much. It was great to see you and hear from you. Yeah, thanks. Eric, did you want to jump in for a
Just
minute?
completely enjoying receiving. And Nita got me off track thinking about my thumb. So I've been obsessing a little about my thumb. There it is. But no, I spend most of the day generating, so I'm enjoying just receiving, and thank everyone.
Eric, you just brought in, I was going to say inadvertently, but maybe you did it on purpose, humor, right? Humor is such a great way to get centered really quickly. And I so appreciate that you brought that in, and
It was it was not inadvertent. It was completely planned from yesterday. No.
oh, I so appreciate you. And we're almost at the top of the hour. We've got about a minute left. Kim or Nita, was there anything that didn't get said that you wanted to end us with?
I would just
Karen,
say, remember the moment. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, just thank you to everyone for kind of rounding it out. It just felt so full. These moments felt so full to me. Thank you.
I was just going to tell Karen, if she's looking for very short, easy, simple, maybe you gave up, maybe you kind of got away from transcendental meditation because it's 20 minutes twice a day. I think that might have been the reason but Nita has a lot of amazing, short, little, simple practices in a couple of her books, a daily dose of now, which I have right here, and then make every move a meditation. I mean, she has a lot of just very simple. And then I teach a 21-day meditation jumpstart course where on day 1 we do 1 minute and on day 2 we do 2 minutes. And so I have a PDF of that journal that I use. And if you would like that PDF, we can get connected by email and I can just send you that PDF, just suggestions for what to do in 1 minute or 2 minutes. Because, if you don't want to do 20 minutes twice a day, I hear you. But maybe today you would do 3 minutes or 2 minutes. Yeah, so just some suggestions for those shorter little bite-sized practices.
Oh, I love that. And in case you haven't noticed, Macklin has been posting the book links. So I hope you'll take a look at that before we close out. And also, Brenda, I just want to also just invite people to join the Instagram for Books That Save Lives. That link is also in there. And Brenda, what do you want to share with us before we go?
I was just going to say that like singing, even if it's just singing along to the radio, like a few lines or something it's sort of breath work in its own way too, but it can uplift your mood and just sort of reframe. And actually, Duncan and I sing in our meetings and sing out our meetings. We have a little Jim Dandy song that we sing at the very beginning. And so I find it healing, and it just is like sort of frames everything to the positive for me.
I love that.
You should sing us out.
Yes. JJ, you read my mind. Wait, let me unmute. Let me unmute everyone in case we can all just join in.
Oh no.
Come on.
Allons enfants de
It's really
la
hard to sing on Zoom because
patrie.
everyone's time's a little different. There's bouncing time. But we could I counted in and we sing this song called Jim Dandy to the Rescue. Which you want to do it, Brenda? Are you ready?
Yes, I just wanted to explain that Jim Dandy is the LLC. Books That Save Lives is the imprint, but the company is Jim Dandy because it sounds fun and positive and upbeat, and it is. So yes, here we go.
So for those of you who know the song, 1, 2, 3. Jim
Dandy
Dandy to the rescue. Jim Dandy to the rescue. Jim Dandy to the rescue. Go, Jim Dandy. Go, Jim Dandy.
I just want
Take that, Taylor Swift.
Oh, I love it. I love
All right, then.
all of you for being here, for everything that you brought. Oh, Kim.
Real quick, in our next Heart Wisdom, can we just do open mic comedy hour and with Eric with Eric as the lead?
Yes.
Love that. I love that. Thank you. Yeah, and I was just gonna say, as we're closing out, I don't know about you, but I feel so centered and present and happy and energized after being with all of you. So community, right? Kindred spirits, like-minded community, and books, like other ways to calm ourselves down and get centered. Thank you all for taking the time to be here. It was wonderful to see all of you. We will get on a regular schedule again. And so we hope to see you on a regular basis in the future. Thank you. Thank you, Kim, Nita.
Thank you, Sherry. Thanks, everybody.
it. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, all.
Bye.